The HD truck market is absurdly competitive these days, with Ford, GM, and Ram all making trucks that are very capable, in fact capable of towing a house and surviving the apocalypse. On paper, they're all very viable. Over the last 3 years, however, I've owned all three. A Ford F-250 with the Godzilla V8, a GM HD in the form of the Sierra with the 6.6-liter gas motor, and this, a 2026 Ram Tradesman with the Power Wagon package. And over the last several years, I've learned a lot, mostly about parallel parking. And after living with each one of these trucks, I can tell you that I learned that on paper means absolutely nothing. Zero. So today I'm going to walk you through this 2026 Ram 2500 Tradesman. I'm going to tell you why I chose it over the Ford and the GM and show you just how much you can get for $65,000 with Ram. Spoiler alert, it's a lot more than you can get for GM for $100,000. This is the Tradesman trim of the Ram HD. It's the basic trim. It's got vinyl seats, hard plastics. It's the kind of truck that says, I'm here to work, and not, let's impress the neighbors. I didn't just buy a totally stripped out HD truck though. I selected one that had the Power Wagon package, which is sort of like Ram's way of saying, hey, what if we turned a worksite rig into a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon? Up front, you get a factory installed Warn winch, not some sketchy Amazon special you bolt on in your driveway. This is integrated from the factory, rated to pull this 7,000-pound beast out of whatever terrible decision I'm about to make on the trail. And trust me, there will be some terrible decisions. Power Wagon package adds, among other things, front and rear locking differentials, like you get in the $60,000 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, or in the $140,000 GMC Sierra HD AT4X. The Tradesman is simple. It has hard vinyl seats that Ram says are work rated. They didn't specify what kind of work though, so I assume it's sex work. The door panels, they're hard plastic. This is a work truck. It's not trying to be a Range Rover, and frankly, I like that. But here's what you do get, a massive quad cab with actual rear seat space. Not just theoretical space, not just space for 5-year-olds and under, real human adult legroom. And I need the space because I'm gonna be living out of this truck for a year. So when I'm hauling people, gear, large dogs, all the above, I need this kind of room. The Tradesman also comes with Ram's 12-inch Uconnect infotainment screen, which is shockingly good for a base trim. It's fast, it's intuitive, and it doesn't feel like Ram said, let's see how cheap we can make this. And here's something that you might not think is that important until you really need it. A 12-volt outlet on the top of the dash up by the windshield. I use it for my Garmin Tread 2 Overland Edition. In the GMC Sierra, however, it didn't have a 12-volt. And I don't just mean on the top of the dash, not in the truck whatsoever. And the only USB port that put out enough juice to power the Garmin was behind the back seat. Meanwhile, Ram put a little outlet on the top of the dash. It's the little things like that. What a concept. All right, let's talk about what it's like to actually drive this thing. That's where it really distinguishes itself from the Ford and the GM. That's where theory meets reality. The first thing you notice is the ride quality. Those 4 coil springs at all corners, well, they're not just spec sheet details, they fundamentally change what it's like to live with this truck on a daily basis. Most HD trucks still use leaf springs in the rear. Why? Tradition? Stubbornness? A blood oath with the ghost of Henry Ford? No. I know it's because leaf springs handle heavy loads very well and they're great for towing. They require fewer parts in the rear end than coil springs. That said, leaf springs still transfer all the roadway imperfections directly up into your spine. Take my GMC Sierra HD, for example. It rode like a medieval torture device wrapped in luxury leather. And those front end T-bars, please do not get me started on those. I can make a whole nother video of those all together, which maybe I will someday. I also really like the seating position too. I'm up high enough that I can see the trail almost right in front of the vehicle without being totally obscured by the big hood. But I'm not up so high that I feel like I'm piloting a building like I was in the Super Duty. The brakes are another distinguishing feature.
You don't have to step too hard on them, but they're not too grabby. They're better than the Fords and significantly better than the GMs. GM felt like you were pressing on a really stiff lever that sent a telegram back to GM HQ begging for braking. It's frankly kind of frightening in a truck that's designed to tow 14,000 pounds. The Ram smooths out rough roads without feeling floaty or disconnected. It still feels like a truck. It's planted, solid, confident, without beating you up the entire time. I could drive this for days on end in the backcountry on rough roads without feeling like I need to go see my neurosurgeon afterward. And that's not a small thing.
The real star is what's under the hood. The 6.4-liter HEMI V8 paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission from ZF. It's the powertrain combo that goes in all of the sweetest SRT vehicles. So that alone should tell you all you need to know about Ram's priorities here.
Yeah, that. No other truck in the HD segment sounds as good as the HEMI. The Ford Godzilla, it sounds agricultural. It sounds like a tractor having an existential crisis. And the GM 6.6, it's forgettable. It's like elevator music in automotive form. But the HEMI, it sounds like a muscle car. It sounds like freedom, and it's glorious.
But it's not just theatrics. The ZF 8-speed transmission actually unleashes the HEMI's power in a way the Ford and GM 10-speeds never could. Both use variations of the same 10-speed automatic, and in both trucks, it felt like the transmission was actively sabotaging the engine, hunting for gears, hesitating on downshifts.
The Ram 8-speed, it's immediate, decisive, and smooth. It knows what gear it wants, and it gets there without any drama. And frankly, it's more reliable than the competition. The Ford and GM 10-speeds have a reputation of grenading themselves as soon as they get out of the warranty. The ZF 8-speed, it's proven, it's boring, in the best possible way.
All right, let's talk about the competition, because I've lived with these trucks. I've paid for them. I've suffered through them, and the differences matter.
My 2023 F-250 was supposed to be the thinking man's HD truck. Extra cab, Godzilla V8, proven Super Duty chassis. But after just 6,000 miles, the Godzilla started making noises like it had gravel rocking around in it. Turns out the Godzilla has unresolved oiling issues that Ford hasn't figured out yet, so it felt like a ticking time bomb. Put this in your mind and let it rattle around for a minute. In 2025, Ford recalled just shy of 13 million vehicles. The next nearest automaker was Toyota, with 3.2 million. And Stellantis, it didn't even crack the top 10. The 2025 GMC Sierra, it's nice. It's got a way better interior than the Ford, it's got good tech, and it looks great in pictures. But it rode even worse than the Ford, which I didn't think was possible. GM took an already punishing experience and made it even worse. But the real problem with the Sierra HD is how much you have to spend to get a really capable truck. In order to get lockers and a winch and steel bumpers, you've got to step up to the $140,000 AT4X AEV Edition. $140,000 for a truck. That's a really sizable down payment on a nice house. That's a really nice 911. In stark contrast, the Ram 2500 Tradesman with the Power Wagon package stickers out just above $65,000. I got mine for around $55,000 out the door. And I still got steel bumpers, coil springs, lockers, and a winch. I also got an 8-speed automatic that works and HEMI V8. So when you're comparing it, it's not even close.
I'm not saying the Ford and the GM are bad trucks, far from it. But having owned all three, I can tell you the Ram is easily the best of the bunch. It's not even close.